Welcome to the virtual orientation for your 25 BHS Jay Flight by Jayco. We're going to begin the orientation on the outside of the RV, and we're going to start near the front. The first thing we're going to look at is your front pass-through storage compartment. And the most notable thing that we're going to find in here is the awning rod for your manual awning. I will show you what to do with that a little bit later. So as we work our way around to the front of the RV, we'll make note of your battery storage area and your propane storage system. This is a dual stage regulator, and what the dual stage regulators will do is basically the regulator is set up to draw automatically from one bottle over the other, and when that bottle drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, which is determined by the regulator, it'll automatically draw from the second bottle. The difference being with this and a crossover regulator is that you have no way to select which bottle it will draw from. Also on the front of this RV, we have your safety breakaway cable here. So this end is the loop end here is connected to the tow vehicle, and the other end is connected to the pin on the safety breakaway switch. In the event that your tow vehicle and the RV are separated, this pin will be pulled free of the housing and engage the trailer brakes, stopping it from following you and maybe hitting you after it becomes detached. Also, you may notice, if you ever notice that your brakes are on in the trailer, and they shouldn't be, there is a chance, I've seen it or heard of it happening a couple times to people, where they're doing their hitch up or unhooking, and they step on the cable and it kind of pulls free, but it doesn't come all the way out of the housing, and they just didn't notice at first that the pin was pulled free enough for the everything to make contact inside the housing and engage the brakes. So if you're having that issue, just take a look, make sure it's firmly seated in the housing. So we continue along the front of the RV. On the off-door side, the next thing we'll come to that we're going to talk about is the input for the cable and the satellite TV. This is where you would plug it in, and then you can use the satellite with various ports inside the RV. If we drop down here, I'll show you one of 4 stabilization jacks. They're located at the 4 corners of the RV, and their function is to stabilize. They should never be used to level your RV. Your RV should be fully level, and these merely engaged either to your cribbing or blocking or the ground itself. As far as the cribbing or blocking goes, I usually recommend 6x6s on level ground. You shouldn't need to use them. You'll have lots of travel in the jacks. However, if you're on uneven ground, you may run out of travel in the jacks, so the 6x6s may be needed. Right next to this stabilization jack, you'll see the output for your black water tank, right beside the valve handle for your gray and black water tank. As we work our way along the outside of the RV, on the back is where you'll find the outdoor shower. And next to the outdoor shower, we have your power cord. This is your 30-volt power supply, as you can see on the plug-in there. This is what you'd use to plug the RV into your power at home or your campground power. That being said, most homes do not have a 30-amp plug or receptacle on the outside, and sometimes when you go to a campground, they may not have a 30-amp receptacle available. So we've provided you with a conversion block that will convert this plug end to a 15-amp plug-in. So that will allow you to plug into some power now. That doesn't magically convert your 30-amp RV into working off of 15 amps, so you won't be able to run everything like your AC in that. However, it will give you some power and functionability. So directly above that, we have your city water connection. This is where you connect your RV to the either campground water supply or the water supply at your home. Usually that is done via a garden hose, basically. So you connect your garden hose to here, and once the tap is turned on, it pressurizes your RV much like your house is pressurized at home, and you can use it much the same way. Right next to that, we have your sewer tank flush. Now what this does is it will help flush out or clean out your black water tank. It's very important that when you do this, that the last step you do is connect the water here, only so you can avoid any mistakes. I would hook your RV, so from the black water output I showed you earlier, hook that up to your sewer system that you're going to be dumping the black water tank into. Make sure the black water tank valve is open, and then connect your garden hose here, turn the tap on, and it will flush out your tank and drain out through the black water output. But again, always make sure the black water valves are open when you're connected to this and putting water to it. All right, let's continue along the outside. Coming back to the door side now, we'll take a little look at the outside access point to your hot water tank. A couple things are of importance here. One, your drain plug, which goes in here. And two, your pressure relief valve. This pressure relief valve is there to relieve the pressure in the tank so that when you remove the drain plug, it doesn't take out your kneecaps or something worse. It will come shooting out of there fairly hard, so always open up your pressure relief before you take this out. Then you'd take this out to drain the hot water tank. We have outdoor access to storage that is underneath your bunk. And moving over, we have your outside access point to your refrigerator. Now the only thing that you would really need to do here, or not even do so much, or be concerned with, is that in order for the refrigerator to operate properly, it requires maximum airflow through this venting. Without that maximum airflow, you're not going to get proper operation of the refrigerator. Now directly below that, we have the exhaust for your furnace. And now it does say right on it, hot. The only reason why I specifically mention it is that it is underneath your awning. And if there's any kids that might be under the awning, there's a greater likelihood they could come in contact with it. So just keep that in mind. Right next to that, we have your 120 volt power. And beside that, we have the fill point for your potable water or fresh water tank. Now your freshwater tank is what you'd use in the event that you're going to be camping somewhere where there isn't a water supply or a freshwater supply. You would fill your water up at home or wherever you have to do that, and fill the tank, and then you can draw from this tank with the onboard water pump. Now if we look right up from here, we'll look at the venting for your range hood. And you might notice that we have these little tabs here. They're used to lock it in place when it's not in use, when you're not in your trailer, just so you can't get anything in there. However, if you want it to actually vent, you have to make sure that it's open. We'll just make a note here that there is a secondary 120 volt power supply underneath your awning as well. So we'll open the door and we'll go in and take a look at some of the things inside, and then we'll come back out and we'll talk about your awning. So as we go inside, one of the first things that you'll see is the fire extinguisher for the RV. I like the placement just inside the door. It's easily accessible outside if you happen to be cooking near the RV, but it's also accessible if you are cooking inside. So from here, we're just going to pan a little bit to our right, and we will see your carbon monoxide propane detector or alarm. This alarm will sound if it detects either propane or carbon monoxide. However, it will also sound for some other things as well. The most notable would be paint or paint fumes. So just be aware of that. I usually recommend testing this when you are changing the batteries in your smoke detector. And the general rule of thumb there is during the time change, go ahead and change your batteries in your smoke detector, and then might as well come down here, press the button, make sure it's functioning properly. You'll see this green light go to red. It'll make a bunch of loud beeps, and then it'll go back to being quiet, and it'll have the green light back on solid like that to let you know it's functioning and protecting you. From here, we'll just stand up and take a look inside. We'll notice your indication panel here that'll let you know the battery level, the fresh, black, and gray water tank levels. And then you also have switching for the main lights of the RV and for your light that's underneath the awning. Here you'll also find the controls to move your slide in and out. Now you may have heard that noise. That noise is normal. That's the noise you'll hear when it's at its end range. It can't go in or out any further. And below here we have this little 12-volt plug-in point or access point for whatever you might need to power with 12 volts. When we were outside earlier, we made mention of your conversion block from a 30 amp plug to 15, and here it is. We usually put them in the sink. Here we have your range top and stove. These are fairly simple to light. Turn it to the light position here, and then turn the sparking knob to ignite the flame. Same thing for all three. The only difference being the oven portion, as it has a pilot, so you'll need to light the pilot. You can see there, well, I don't know if you could see it or not, but it doesn't have a spark, so you'll need to light the pilot manually with a barbecue lighter. When you do so, however, it's important that you turn this to the light position, but then the difference between the others is that you have to press and hold this knob in to get it to release the fuel, and then ignite it manually with your barbecue lighter. So right below your oven we'll have your power center or load center. This is where you'll find the breakers for your RV. They function pretty much the same way that the breakers you'd see in your home. And then we have your fuses on the 12 volt side. You will see something similar in your vehicle perhaps, and they function pretty much the same way. As we stand up and keep moving to our right here, next we'll come to refrigerator. This will function either on gas or electricity. On the auto mode, it will search for electricity first and light on electricity. If it doesn't find electricity, then it will choose to light on gas. And if you switch it to the gas only, it will only light on gas. If it doesn't light initially, you will see that the lower light here will flash, indicating that there was an issue. A lot of times the issue is simply pressure of the gas. There isn't enough yet, maybe air in the lines. So I mean, one way to get around that, or to kind of make it easier, so it just lights faster basically, or more efficiently, is to use the burners to bleed the air out of the system. If you light the burners here like you normally would, I'd light all three. What that'll do is get rid of most of the air out of the system, and then it should be no problem lighting the refrigerator after that. So as we continue through here, just take a quick look at your top and bottom bunk. There is a emergency exit in your bottom bunk, as well as access to, bear with me here, I'll get some light on, access to your storage. And in here we will find the manual crank for your stabilization jacks, as well as access to the inside of your hot water heater. Now what we need to access here is these valves here. So right now we have this unit in bypass mode as it was winterized, and that's the way this looks. So the water comes, kind of just does this little loop here instead of going in and out of the tank. So if we turn these valves, now that valve is that way, bear with me here, So now you can see that the water is going to go in and out of the tank. The only thing we have left to do is block it from going in between. And there. So now we are set to run this in summer mode or using the hot water tank. The reason why you'd want to do the bypass would be for winterization purposes, as you do not need to fill your hot water tank full of antifreeze. It has a drain on it. That's just a waste of your antifreeze. So they put a bypass on them to save you a little bit of time and money on your filling that whole tank full of antifreeze. So next we'll come to your thermostat. Now your thermostat is fairly straightforward. You have a cool setting, a heat setting, off and fan setting. And then over here, as far as the fan goes, you can set it to auto, high or low, or just on all the time, high and low. And then you use the slider here to adjust the temperature. Next, we'll just take a quick look at your bathroom. The most important thing to note here is the unit GFCI. I'm not connected to shore power or 120 volt power, so this won't really actually do anything at the moment. But you can see there's two buttons here. There's one there, and one here. This is the reset button. This would be the test button, so you could test to see if it was working properly. Basically anything near water or on the outside of the RV should be on the load side of this, which means if this trips, then the receptacles outside, the ones in the kitchen, and this itself will not work. You would need to come and reset this for them to function again. Make our way back into the main portion of the RV. I just want to make a note of the AC itself and the venting. We have these baffles here on the side and along here. And what these baffles will do, if they're open, the majority of the air from the AC will fall directly here. However, with them closed, it will force the air to fall from the ports located around the RV. We'd mentioned the carbon monoxide propane detector earlier, over here, right there. And when we did, we talked about the smoke detector, which is located right here. Next, we come to your radio or stereo section. This has some different functionalities. We have room for a headphone jack. We also have an auxiliary in. But the main thing that I want to talk to you about is the zones. So we have basically two zones, a zone inside and a zone outside. The zone outside is on the speakers that are under your awning, and those are controlled by here, A and B zones. And then we have an A plus B, which would allow you to have the music or radio on inside and out. You'll notice this here is basically a turntable. Now I won't be able to open now because the pocket doors for the bedroom are closed. So in order to utilize this, you'll have to make sure that these doors are open all the way so this can freely spin. And on the other side of this, well, I'll go show you right now. Is where you have space for your TV. So you could mount the TV here. The turntable allows you to watch the TV in the bedroom or out into the main area of the RV. As always, we have underbed storage. We have 120 volt power beside the bed. You can charge your cell phones. And while we're in the bedroom here, we will just make note of the emergency exit. Now this emergency exit can be used by pushing down on this black tab, push the red handle over and out, bring the handle perpendicular to the sidewall of the RV, and then you can push the window open and pull this handle to remove the screen, and you can escape to safety. Just want to make mention of a couple other things, one being your water pump, which is located under here. This is where you will find your fill tube to do your winterizing if you choose to do so on your own, or we'd be happy to do it for you. At the moment, this valve is open, so it will draw from your antifreeze jug. If we close this, so it blocks off the tube for filling from the antifreeze. And then open this. That puts you back in use the water pump to draw from your freshwater tank mode. We talked about it earlier, the reasons why you might want to do that. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found it informative and useful. I do apologize if there's anything that you were hoping to hear me cover and I did not. If that's the case, please don't hesitate to give us a call and we will do our best to answer all of your questions and make sure you're comfortable before you use your RV for the first time. Thank you.